Hello everyone, today I have for you just a little update on my heavy stun cast on ignite spark video, and it's probably going to be my last one on this build actually. And all I'm going to really tell you is that detonate dead is really good, so let's get right into it. So very quickly, if you don't know what this build is, we use overwhelming presence, which reduces enemy elemental ailment threshold and their stun threshold by 30%. But what you can actually do is stack increased effect of auras from your aura skills, jewels with an adorned, and get that reduction all the way up to 99%. When it's at 99%, really any spell that does fire damage will get energy for cast on ignite, like a ton of it, and then also stun the enemy the very second it touches them. I'll run an example map if you haven't seen this. But yeah, you gotta get the percent up to 99%, and I do with all my jewels and my adorned. But what I was gonna say is you can actually add on Detonate Dead instead of Eye of Winter on one of your elemental invocations, which I had on my last build video. And Detonate Dead is just a crazy amount of clear, like, on the build, because one of the problems with Comet is that it takes so long to actually fall down to the earth and kill an enemy, so it kind of slows down the clear, like when you have to just wait for all that. Well, with Comet, you do have to wait for the first enemy to get hit, and just leaving Comet on the build is good. You probably could put on something else, like Hex Blast will like instantly kill enemies, and then you'll start triggering Detonate Deads, but Comet's just better for bossing, and it just does more damage than Hex Blast, so I'm still leaving it on here, even though it does have the downside of taking a long time to actually hit an enemy. So you kill an enemy with Comet, and then it just starts detonating dead chaining just all over the map. It's crazy. So Detonate Dead is great to put on here. You just use a low level one because the main damage source is the 20% of the corpse's maximum life. So you really don't need a high level Detonate Dead because it just increases the flat fire damage. And the Detonate Dead is actually not doing physical damage. I tested it since I have on the Avatar of Fire. I thought maybe Avatar of Fire wouldn't affect it, but it is. It is doing fire damage. So we're doing fire damage for all the explosions, and what we have on here for the supports is Spell Echo, so it'll make the explosions happen twice, and the second one will have a bigger area of effect, which is very important for the chaining. And then we have Control Destruction because its base crit chance is kind of low, so, and we don't have much crit chance in the build, so we might as well just make it so we're always getting 30% more damage with the hits. And then next we have Exploit Weakness, which is something really weird to put on here, but supported skills consume enemy fully broken armor to deal 50% more damage, and we are using that because we put on Spark Devastate, where supported skills fully break armor when they inflict a heavy stun, since our Spark is heavy stunning the entire map. So our sparks are just out there stunning enemies, and then all the bodies that are by the enemies that are getting stunned are then going to be doing 50% more damage one time, because I mean we're not going to keep inflicting the fully broken armor since they can only be heavy stunned once per like really long amount of time, but that's all you really need with this. And then if you can 6-link it, we have supported skills gain 40% increased energy. So that's all that's really new, but on Comet, I did put on Spell Cascade because this does help clear also, just putting down more Comets everywhere. Also, Spell Cascade doesn't have a mana multiplier on it like Spell Echo does, so that's a lot less mana for our highest mana skill, which is good because I only run like 3,000 mana on the build, and I'm still living pretty well. I died a few times on stream, but I'd say most of them were stupidity rather than the build being bad. And then, yeah, so I've been leveling quite a bit with this build with 3,000 health pool and like rarity gear, so it's still pretty safe. And I think this makes it more safe because enemies die just way quicker with Detonate Dead. But if you're going to go up to a boss, just do a quick gem swap with these two, and then when you go back to mapping, swap them back. The Spell Echo having more Comets hit the boss is way better than a bunch of Comets just randomly hitting around the boss and they never hit him. Okay, so before I do a map, I just wanted to talk about a couple things. I didn't say in my last video, but I did pick up these lightning skills chain an additional time because that makes Spark chain, and then also increase projectile speed, so just Sparks going everywhere. It's just more defensive because it'll heavy stun enemies quicker because it's actually targeting them, and it's moving around quicker, so very important. And then, as I see it, I have 3 flex passive points right now in the build. I chose to put them on AoE because it's just more blasphemy range, so my curses go out further, and then also the Detonate Dead has a bigger explosion. So just good for clear. Otherwise, you can put them on increased skill effect duration for Spark or more crit chance for Comet to do more damage. And then everything else is pretty much the same. I got rid of my line here because basically 2 joules gives about the same amount of increased effective auras as those 4 nodes there, and you got a path to them. So what I did is I just pathed over to these joule nodes, which is about the same amount of passive points. And then you just get an extra suffix along with the increased effective auras. So if you have good joules, then you might as well use them. And then everything else is pretty much the same. This is pretty close to my tree right here, but I don't know if you really want to waste the passive points on it. I think this is a very good notable to maybe allocate on your amulet or with a megalomaniac. It's just damage with hits is lucky against heavy stunned enemies. It doesn't increase the damage of Comet much because the minimum to maximum damage isn't too different on Comet, but on Spark, it is very different since it's a lightning skill, so once the enemy is heavy stunned, if you're hitting them again, it will build up a lot more energy on average, so this is definitely something good that you could take on the build. Otherwise, like a Prism of Belief Diamond that has extra levels on Comet would be pretty optimal on this build for more damage, but it's really not too important. Plus, it'll make your mana problems worse, and it costs like 90 divines, I think, so I think that's all I've really learned about the build since my last video, so I'll go in and run a map and show you how crazy Detonate Dead is here. I should have some good breach maps around still. I ran most of my juiced ones, but not an augury. We don't want that, right? Mineshaft is kind of whack. I guess we'll just do an Oasis, is fine. Say this is what I got here. I don't run elemental pen maps just because I have such a low hit pool. I don't run the increased elemental ailments and stun, or like the ailment thresholds on enemies. I think I talked about in my last video. Actually, I kind of want to turn off the Detonate Dead first and show you what the clearing is like. So it's obviously very good. A lot of comets, but you can see how long enemies live, which is not very long, but I will show you the Detonate Dead here in a second. Okay, I feel like that was a good comparison. So that pack lived for a while, but we'll just do this with Detonate Dead now. Yeah, okay, good. This looks really nice. Yeah, the sparks just go everywhere and just hit all the enemies, and then the Detonate Dead just spreads so much faster than the comets do. Makes clearing better, especially in a breach. You do need the spark to actually like hit enemies, so it can take a second if you're not hitting anything, because the spark needs to gain energy. We'll just run this breach and then call the video there, because I don't want to make this too long when I don't have that much to share. If you don't know anything about this build and you're watching this video, my last video was the full explanation on this build, so you gotta check that out. Oh, there's nothing this way. Not looking at the map. I guess I'll start trying here. Yeah, the breach isn't in an amazing spot. I guess I can go up north some here. Can I get through here? Kind of. I could have done better, gotten over there, but I was talking. Okay, that's basically the build. I think adding Detonate Dead is very good. Basically just got every meta skill on here. Spark, Comet, Detonate Dead. Very creative stuff, I know. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. Like the video if this helped you out, and I hope this, if you're following my build, hopefully this helped progress it a little bit further. And subscribe. See ya.